We shades retire, we set them free, shaking the ground with epiphany. Fresh thinking loud, it's our decree. Unconventional wisdom dancing on the beat.
Hey there, and welcome to Unconventional Wisdom about conventional wisdom. I am your host, Kim Miller-Hershon, and this is my good friend, Stafford Jacobs. And we're just going to have a really interesting and frank conversation today about Stafford's journey to where he currently is and what is some conventional and unconventional wisdom that he has followed and maybe unfollowed, subscribed and unsubscribed to. So, Stafford, thank you so much and welcome.
Great to be here.
Thank you. All right, let's start out because even though I know you, you don't know him yet. So, Stafford, tell us a little bit about yourself and
Sure.
your journey and what you do as well.
Sure. Thanks for having me here on the podcast, Kim. I really appreciate it. Almost 30 years ago, I wrote my first personal auto insurance policy. And since then, I've had the opportunity to work directly for an insurance carrier at the headquarters as a direct agent for the carriers and now as a broker. So I've worked for maybe 4 different companies over almost 30 years, but I've worn quite a few different hats over those years, which I think gives me a unique perspective in driving results for my clients today. For about the last decade plus, my focus has been working with high growth companies, helping them scale unencumbered by risk with a particular focus on commercial property and casualty. We work with clients in many different industries that are all over the United States, some even with international interests. The common denominator is that those companies have leaders that want to move away from a more transactional relationship to a risk management partnership. So that's what I do.
Right. Yeah, Stafford. And one thing that really strikes me here is that you, I think, are a unique snowflake in that I don't think I've ever heard of an insurance person who's had as long a career as you've had, which clearly you started when you were 12, and that you've only worked for 4 different companies. Isn't that pretty unusual?
It is today because I think in all industries, we're seeing a lot of our younger workforce think about moving through positions at least 18 months, 2 years. And I've even heard, because we work with a lot of folks in the technology space, that if you've stayed at a company for longer than a couple of years, the interviewer might ask, hey, what's going on there? Why are you sticking around so long? Definitely it's a new era, and I respect it. And for me, I think I do get bored easy, and I've moved around and shifted over the years in different positions, even though I worked for just a few companies. Pretty exciting stuff.
Cool. All right. Random question. If your email inbox had a personality, what would it be? And should it be in therapy?
Oh my gosh. When it comes to the inbox, I say I have a love-hate relationship. I love emails because they're a great form of communication, but I get a lot of emails. And so some days it's just unwieldy and there's just nothing I can seem to do about it. So many people are marketing through email now. I don't know how that works, but so many people are doing it. And it makes it hard to sift through the noise where I can really get to the emails that are from my clients. And so I can get back with them in a timely fashion. So I am consistently looking for the best settings that don't delay or block important emails from clients. So my email is definitely in therapy. That's the bottom line. It needs help. It needs work, and it's a constant struggle.
Yeah. Sounds like it's a little noisy too.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. I've got a lot of people who want to help me get more leads or something. A new tech platform that we should be using, and just becomes a distraction.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Let's jump into the part of the conversation around conventional wisdom. So, what's one piece of conventional wisdom, business wisdom, that you followed early on, only to realize later on that it was completely wrong for you?
That's a great question, Kim. I'd have to say it's fake it till you make it. I think we all heard that one before, and I find it to be disingenuous, and it's obviously misleading when you're faking it until you make it. But I do have empathy for those who are just getting started. You probably run into the catch-22 that's like, in order to gain access to this program or this role, you need to have such and such experience or credentials, etc. So believe me, I get it. I get that part of it. But where we have the gap is that we're coming to this relationship. We're not being transparent and honest. Just recently, I had an opportunity with a teammate of mine who's demonstrated, an exceptional work ethic. Right, he's earlier in his career, and so much so that we had a large client come in, and he had capacity, and we said, look, let's have him be the account executive on this account. I had to really fight this urge to say, as I had in earlier in my career, don't act like it's your first day. And it wasn't his first day. He's got a few years, but it's just not 10 years. And so it was, you know what? Let's be who you are, and let's be frank with the client. And I'm going to share with them, look, this person is exceptional. That's why he's here. And we work as a team, so there will not be a gap when it comes to experience. And let's see where it goes. And if there's a problem, we'll address it, right? And to put the kind of cherry on the cake for this one, we just went and did an in-person visit with this client, which those are rare in this day and age. We're doing a lot of video meetings. And we went in person and we met with them, and they just spoke so highly of my teammate and the relationship they've built with them in just a short period of time. And we walked into that meeting in handshakes. We left with hugs. And so I just was really impressed. And I just fake it till you make it is just archaic. Let's get rid of it. And let's just be transparent and meet our clients and all our relationships with as much honesty and transparency as we can.
The other thing that you did was really open up the lines of communication. And then in my experience, that's where the gap is. So we think that the gap is like you put somebody young as an account manager and you just hope they don't notice. That's a little silly. So explaining why and explaining that you're on this, right? And that you're a team really opens up the possibility for also him to show up and grow. That's typically what's missing, is that you put somebody younger on and the client feels actually like they're not important.
We've also had situations where obviously we've got a great amount of experience when it comes to property and casualty, and we serve a lot of different verticals. But on occasion, we'll have a vertical that we have a great deal of experience, but a client has a project that is very niche, and we don't have experience in that particular thing. And so what I've found is, instead of telling that client, like, to misdirect them to show them, hey, we've got all this experience in another area or smoke and mirrors, is to just go, you know what, we haven't done that before, or we've only done it for one other client before. But you know what? The truth of the matter is that we really care, and you've trusted us before, and we're going to work our tails off to deliver for you as we have in the past. And we'll continue to be a good partner. And if we find out that we're not, we'll know it before you do, and we'll let you know. And you can trust us in that we will. That's just.
Oh my God, Stafford, you're saying that it takes so much confidence, right? And experience in yourself. What's really funny is, I don't know if you've ever had this before, but I have a client that I had. It was like literally one of my first coaching clients. And I was like, she is so not the right client for me. But people who I knew her, they're like, oh my God, Kim, she needs coaching. And I did it against all of my better instincts. And I am 15 years into my coaching business, and you know what I still call her? She's
Hmm.
the gift that keeps on giving.
There you go.
Yeah,
There you
there's no amount of money that is worth taking on a bad client or trying to BS somebody into using your services when it's really not the right fit. And
Yeah.
how much integrity is there in saying, hey, listen, we'll know before you will
And we'll
if
let you know.
we'll let you know.
Yeah. You can trust us that we'll let you know.
And trust is really the key word there. That's amazing. All right. So, as a successful leader, what's one thing people assume that you've got it nailed? You've got this figured out, but behind the scenes, you're still wrestling with.
Oh man. Let's see here. These are wonderful questions. You really are looking for some vulnerability here, and I love it. I've already shared my struggle with emails, so I have to find something else. So there is something that I struggle with, and it's interesting because I've struggled with it for I can't remember when I started struggling with it, but I struggled with it for a long time. It's called imposter syndrome. And I always thought that it was just me. I always thought I was just experiencing these feelings as I'm on an island, Kim. And so many people that I respect that are successful in their own right have admitted that they also experience imposter syndrome. And I'm so glad that we're talking about it. And so to me, I feel like you have these moments and you're doing things and you look at your accomplishments, you look at some of the things that you've done and you go, why me? Why did I get that opportunity? How am I here doing this great work? And obviously you've done the work to be there. You are qualified. You made the sacrifices to be there, but you still have this little voice in your head that says you're not good enough, you're not this enough, you're not that enough. But the thing that helps me with this struggle, and it's a constant struggle, it never quite, as soon as I think it's gone, it pops up somewhere, is that knowing that others that are successful struggle with it as well, and that it is common. And that helps me go, okay, brain, you're trying to play games with me. Let me just push these negative thoughts away and get back to work, get back to what I've been called to do. And that's a big struggle for me. But I have to keep reminding myself. And I wish I could just figure out how to make it go away forever. But they haven't invented that pill yet, Kim.
I'm sure they're working on it. So it's interesting that you say that, and if I can share, and if you decide that you don't like what I'm going to say, you can tell me that we have to cut it out. But
Okay.
what's interesting about that is that when I asked you to be on the podcast and I told you what the profile of the guest was, and I said, all of the guests are successful business people.
Right.
And we want to really talk about the conventional and unconventional wisdom of how you got there. You hesitated and you said to me, ooh, I feel a little uncomfortable about that successful
Yeah.
label.
I think my exact words were, so I'm supposed to come on your podcast and say I'm successful just to make sure. But yeah, it's true. There's part of me that there's some discomfort about talking about the accomplishments I've had. And yeah, I'll be very frank about that. When I think about my accomplishments and things I've done, I'm not whatever the name of some successful person is. I'm not that person. I'm just a regular Joe. But we all have attained success in our own right. And so I'm happy to be here. I'm glad I said yes. So thank you for having me on the show.
Yeah, me too. I think this is a great conversation. It's great for you as a man to come on here and say, I sometimes feel like an imposter, because I think a lot of times people think that's only women executives feel that, right? It's not the case. I think what you're saying is that women are more likely to talk about it publicly than men are, perhaps.
Could be, yeah. I would say if I think about the times discussed imposter syndrome. The group has trended toward female more than male, but I have heard many men and many successful men that I know and trust admit that they have imposter syndrome. So it's all of us.
Right. Listen, you know what? You can always find somebody who is more successful, more whatever, has a better relationship. I don't know, has better sex. I'm not sure, whatever it is.
Whatever it is. Yeah.
To be able to say, hey, listen, we're all human. And the other interesting thing that you said is that it it's there, it's not there. For instance, when like you became a partner, right? That had been a long time goal of yours. And then to be a partner, and the timing was like great for you because you were a partner and got bought by One Digital, and that's a bigger footprint for you, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and puts you in a more senior position. It's a huge accomplishment. I am coming up on the 15th year of my business, and I was just literally this morning reflecting, having this sort of wow moment, like 15 years. Wow, that's a long time. So I
Yeah.
think sometimes when we can sit in gratitude or wonder or just amazement. All right. The next thing that I'm curious about, we are all curious about, is if you could rewrite the rule book on leadership, what's one outdated belief that you'd throw away immediately, and what would you replace it with?
Okay. Well, rewriting the rule book on leadership, that's a big, but I would maybe go after an idea. And one idea that I would rewrite, and I hear it commonly I sometimes hear it. I'm not going to say common. I hear it sometimes, and it's a little bit of a pet peeve for me. It's I did everything by myself. No one ever handed me anything. And I understand that you should take pride in the sweat equity you put into whatever it is that you're doing. You showed up, you sharpened your skill set, you took the hits and you kept getting back up and up again. And I think you should absolutely be proud of that, no question. But I choose to rephrase that idea and just to meet every day with gratitude and look for what I have and what I'm able to do is as a result of all the people collectively over the years that took the time to give me advice, took the time to criticize even. They didn't have to be a buddy. They could have been someone who, quite frankly, it was a negative interaction, but they still helped me because I was able to grow from that. To even the negative moments, we have all had people in our lives who helped us, who created an opportunity or allowed us to get through them to an opportunity. And so we've all had someone who helped us do what we're doing, and we owe them. And I just like to just turn that, because I didn't do it by myself. And I know that there's not anyone on this earth that has done it by themselves. And to take it a step further, I think about some of the giant companies out there and the amount of people they employ, right? If it's One Digital with 5,000 or even larger companies with 20,000 and 50,000 employees, the leaders are not doing that alone. They've got 50,000 teammates helping them move that company mission forward. I just approach that with gratitude, and that's what I would just throw out and replace if I could.
That's such an interesting thought. The thought that, like, as a piece of pride, like I did it by myself. And yet, you're right, nobody can do it all by yourself. It's always built in community. And, also, too, what you didn't say, but I think is also a part of this puzzle, which is like, all the clients that said yes. We like to think that we are unique in what we do, but there's lots of other property and casualty insurance advisors out there. There's a lot of other coaches out there. Neither of us do something that nobody else in the world does. And the fact that your clients, past, present, and future, said yes to you, right?
Yeah.
And maybe that's even something when that imposter syndrome hits you, that's something good to remember.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very cool.
Great point.
Okay. So what's one conventional habit or mindset shift that's helped you grow your business, even though it goes against typical advice?
Okay, we might need to pause on that one. I need to think about that question.
All right. So let me focus it. All right.
Okay.
I'm sure 30 years ago, like you have done plenty of cold calling, right? And anybody who's in any kind of insurance or financial advisor, any of those things, that was always the classic pick up the phone. How many calls can you make a day?
Mhm.
And I actually have some people in my network, like realtors, who still have coaches telling them that they should be cold calling.
I don't
Um,
think there's anything wrong with it. I
okay.
don't think there's anything wrong with it, but you got me there. Thank you, Kim. I'm ready. All right. Oh,
Sure.
yeah. Okay. So when I arrived to San Francisco, I'm originally from Texas, and I grew up in Texas, and I had been in the insurance industry for, at that point, at least 10 years. And I moved to San Francisco, and I was transitioning to the broker side of the business. And I had deep roots on personal lines. That's your home auto and personal umbrella and those kinds of things. And I went to work for a big broker, and this was going to be my introduction to working with those high net worth individuals. And I was going to be on the sales side of the house. And so I was just learning the products better and eventually going to be going into sales and marketing. And I remember getting to the point where I was ready to hit the road and start bringing in new clients. And I remember talking to my supervisor and saying, okay, I'm ready to go. I was not new to cold calling, and I had done that and been very successful at it at this point. And so I had a lot of confidence there. And I said, okay, great. Give me some lists of these high net worth individuals, and I'll get calling and I'll figure it out. I'll start to put together my word tracks and I'll make it happen. And my supervisor looked at me as though I said the craziest thing in the world. She was like, there's no way that these people are going to take your call. It doesn't work like that. And I was deflated. Okay, what do I do? How am I going to do this? And so I'm back at the, now teach me, give me some advice. And she said, what you're going to need to do is you're going to need to network with professionals and get them to refer them into those relationships. And so you need to meet wealth managers, you need to meet trust and estate planning attorneys, you need to meet CPAs that focus on individuals with high net worth. And I go, great, I know, I don't know, 5 of those people. And she said, yeah, you need to know 100. And I go, how do I do that? And so the next step was this search and to start building a new muscle. And I call it the relationship marketing or networking muscle. And it just really changed my world. It really changed my world. At that point, because it was a very large agency, we had national relationships, national memberships in all of the top networking groups. And one in particular is Provisors. And Kim, that's where you and I met many years ago. But I feel like in 2008, I was probably in 20 different groups. There was a really nice woman who would call me from Los Angeles and tell me where I was going to go that week. These are your breakfast meetings, your lunches, your mixers. It was a full calendar. They just threw me into networking. And what a tremendous opportunity for me. Again, talking about being grateful. I learned so much and I made so many connections that still serve me to this day. And I've gained a new skill, and it absolutely works. And I think I hear people talking about networking. They're just in the first room and they realize that there's so much more to networking and building on that skill. And so I love it. And it's how I get all of my clients today is through networking.
And it's interesting because when you start out networking, you walk into the room like now, maybe you don't walk in the room with your business card, but it used to be, right? You walk into the room with your business card like you're dealing poker, right? And you think that the most important thing is to tell everybody what you do. That may be the first room, but you and I both know that the relationships are really built and the trust is gained by really getting to know people, really truly finding opportunities for them, being referred in, and even if it's not the right client for you, doing the right thing for the prospect so that the other person looks good. There really is an art to the whole thing, which some people might be very surprised to hear. It is not all about you.
No, it is not. I'd say that the most important place to start is really thinking about everyone else in that engagement, right? First, thinking about your client. What does my client need? My client, I don't want them to go to some stranger for help with this problem. I want them to go to someone I know and trust.
Right.
That's the first thing. And then if I'm thinking about it on the other side, there's my professional relationship, right? The person I'm networking with. I've got to get to know them, and I know that I want to help them. I want to help their business grow. So I want to send them great clients that are right in their target space. And so I know that if I'm helping my referral partner, I'm helping my client, all these people around me are going to be served at the best possible result. That's a win all the way around. And it will just continue to come back to you. And I know there's a concept around that called giver's gain, but that's it, right? And it just, if you can, instead of thinking network is simply meeting a bunch of people and throwing out as many business cards as possible, to how can I really create value for my clients? How can I really create value for my referral partners? You will create a successful engagement for everybody involved.
Right. And then you got to stick around. You got to stick around to build the relationships.
Absolutely.
Yeah, good. So you talked a little bit before about imposter syndrome, and I want to get back to it in two ways. You said you were willing to get vulnerable. I don't know, you said you were willing to get vulnerable, but you said that you would be vulnerable. I think it's the same thing, but we'll find out. I have really two questions for you. I'd like to explore that a little bit further. And if you are comfortable, I would love for you to talk a bit more specifically about where does it come up from you, or when does it come up for you? And then what do you do? How do you combat it?
I think that it comes up for me whenever the opportunity is substantial. Most of the time, when there's a big opportunity ahead, that's when I start to go, am I ready? Am I the one? Could there be someone else who should do this other than me? And I heard a phrase recently that was, who are you to dim your light? Who are you to dim your light?
It's Marianne Williamson. It's a poem.
Look at that. Look at that. So this is
Yeah.
why we hang out, Kim. And it's it's wonderful phrasing, and I don't want to. I want to give as much of myself as I can to my partners, to my teammates, right? And so, who am I to dim my light? And so that's what I have to remind myself of, that they're counting on me. That's why I've been invited to meet with this client or speak at this event, right? They're counting on me, and there's a reason I'm here. And so I have to push those things aside and show up.
I love that. And I think what's so cool about that is that the way that you put that is that you have found a way to quell the doubt in a way that's so authentic to you, right? Which which is why it works, and I really hope that you listening really can take some of what Stafford shared with us today and really use it. If it will work for you, use it for you, because that's really the point of having these conversations, is to share the things that help you in some of your journey so that other people can benefit from your experience and continue to grow themselves. Thank you. Would you believe you are off the hot seat? Oh, you have one more thing?
Before we wrap,
Okay, say your thing.
if you don't mind, I just would like to thank you for having me on your podcast. I know this is something you're creating and it's personal. And so I'm just honored that you invited me. And I just wanted to share a story because I want your viewers to know how much I respect you and think highly of you. We've known each other for several years and worked closely in networking groups together. So I know you well. I think I know you well. And I definitely enjoy anytime we get to chat. But there's a story I like to tease you about from way back when we were just getting to know each other. And I mentioned earlier that we work with a lot of technology-based firms, and we got invited to work with a client. And you were also on that engagement as well. And this was tech group that was they were heavily funded. There was lots of excitement about what they were going to be. And so here they were, these founders and their leaders trying to figure things out. And we were focused on the property and casualty side and advising them there. You were helping them through leadership challenges. And I just remember they were headed off to the Grand Caymans and they took Kim on the trip, and you really helped them get their stuff together. And it's just really a testament to your work and what you bring to the table. But if you're struggling, you really should talk to the queen of productivity, Kim Miller-Hershon. So Kim, thank you so much for having me on the podcast. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. This is Kim Miller-Hershon with Stafford Jacobs signing off for today. Okay, unconventional wisdom, about conventional wisdom, where cliches come to die and fresh thinking we inspire. Oh no, I said that wrong. Where cliches come to retire and fresh thinking we inspire.
Love it.
All right, go out there, be a better human. Thank you.
Cliches retire, we set them free, shaking the ground with epiphany. Fresh thinking loud, it's our decree. Unconventional wisdom dancing on the beat.